Oh, G-Word, I have you loud and clear.
Garrett, thanks so much for being with us. The first question I have for you, when we're done here, do you think you could beam me up?
You know, I wish I could. It takes us a lot of effort to get up and down in the shuttle, and if we could beam back and forth, that would make things a lot easier. But I'll see if we can get you a seat. That's the best I can do.
I'd appreciate that. Teleportation will be with us one day. Now, before we get to the green parts of this interview, I want to give people a sense of what it's like up there, what life is like up there. I imagine you have to sacrifice something in terms of privacy.
You know, it's actually not that bad. We have our private sleep station, and we have private areas for the bathroom. And so really privacy is not too bad of an issue. We do have cameras all around the place, so you do have to be really careful because you're always being watched. But it's nothing that people in reality TV programs don't deal with all the time.
Now, this is your first trip up into space, and give me a sense of what it was like to look back at the Earth the first time, to see the blueness of the planet through the blackness of space.
Well, you know, the first time I got a glimpse out the window, this was a moment I had been anticipating for a long time. And when I first had an opportunity to look out the window, it was right after we launched. A few hours later, we were setting up the space shuttle, and we have a small window and a side hatch. And as I was busy working, I glanced up and I saw the planet. And I looked up, I floated up to the window, and it was really beautiful. But I have to admit that I was kind of expecting to be awed, and it wasn't quite as transcendental of a moment as I thought it might be. It was beautiful, and I do enjoy looking down at the planet whenever I have a chance. But I guess it was not as surprising as maybe I anticipated it could be. There's only one thing that really surprised me, and I'll talk to you about that maybe in just a moment.
Sure. Well, you know, you look so poised standing there, first of all, Garrett, and of course you are in zero gravity. Is there some way you could just demonstrate that real quick for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Now, that is so cool. We all wish we could do that on Earth. Yes, please, take a bow.
It's really fun. It's one of the best things about being up here.
All right, well, let's move into talking about the environment and being green up on the International Space Station. I think a lot of people don't realize that the ISS is really a reuse, recycle place. Nothing gets wasted. Water's being conserved. In fact, I think that you can't even really do laundry.
That's right. We end up. It's actually very clean up here. It's a fairly sterile environment. There's no all the biological things are scrubbed out of the atmosphere we breathe. So you don't get very dirty, is what I'm getting at. So as a result, you can wear your shirts and pants quite a lot longer than you would normally on the Earth, and then eventually we just dispose of them. So yeah, we don't have laundry, and everything is recycled as much as possible because getting cargo up here is very costly and difficult, and the capacity is limited. So we even do things like, and we're constantly inventing new ways. For example, all the condensate, all the water that's inside the atmosphere on board the station is recycled, and then we eventually convert it into drinking water. So what we started doing is taking our wet wipes after we wash our hands and putting them near the ventilation vents so that they could dry out. And we collect that water again and drink it eventually, and then the wet wipe becomes a dry wipe, and we just throw it out.
Now, at some point, is it true that your actual urine will be used as drinking water? I mean, it will be going through a process, obviously, and converted back. But is that a possibility aboard the space station?
Yes. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for me, we don't have that capability yet, but that's coming very soon. A couple shuttles from now, they're going to be bringing up a bunch of new equipment to go in the laboratory module there, and it will have the ability to do that. It will actually be able to convert urine to drinking water. I understand it's been extensively tested on the ground.
You would like to think so. Anyway, all right, now let's talk about the Earth observation photography that you're involved with, because that is really critical to NASA's mission in terms of looking at climate change on the Earth. What have you been seeing in terms of either natural evolution on the planet or even what's being done man-made?
But it is amazing. We have a long record of photography taken by astronauts of the Earth going back for decades. So we could see changes in coastlines and lakes as they dry out, very significant changes. And as a result, we have a nice record of the evolution of our planet. So we continue that. I get targets. Just today I was asked to go down and take some photographs of some ice breaking away from Antarctica and looking for ice flows just north of Antarctica. And I've also been asked to photograph glaciers, for example, in the Andes Mountains, to track how they are diminishing as the planet gets a little bit warmer. So these are the types of things that we do, and we can, as I said, we're doing it for a long time and continue to do it as often as we can.
So tracking what's happening on the Earth is one thing, but what about what's happening in and around you? And I'm talking about space debris, so any junk that might be coming by the International Space Station. Do you ever see anything out there?
We're moving at 17,500 miles an hour, so all this debris moving relative to us is moving at the speed of rifle bullets. So you don't see them coming. Fortunately, anything that's bigger than the size of a golf ball can be tracked by ground radar, and we can see that. So if there's anything that size that might come our way, we can maneuver the station to avoid it, and that's done occasionally. The other thing is things that are smaller than that, though, are difficult to see, and occasionally they do strike the station. We do have a lot of shielding outside that protects us, but actually during my spacewalk, we found a tool outside, and it had about a half-inch thick aluminum piece to it that was hit by one of these micrometeorites or a piece of space debris. And it penetrated almost the entire half-inch deep of aluminum, made a hole about, say, an eighth of an inch in diameter. So when we brought that inside and took a look at it, it really did look like it had been shot by a bullet, and it was definitely gave us some pause when we saw that.
Yeah, you mentioned the term micro bullets. I don't think many people necessarily realize that even the tiniest object going that fast could cause a problem.
Absolutely, that velocity is enough that you're absolutely right. The smallest little piece of anything really could cause a great trouble, depending on what it strikes and how it strikes.
All right, we don't have too much time left, Garrett, but I want to ask you, since you're so up on the environment up there and the space station is very clean and green, are you going to make an effort when you come back down to Earth to be a little bit more recycle-friendly or reuse things when you come back?
And what I was alluding to before, and I'd like to finish up, is the thing that did surprise me tremendously when I looked out at the Earth is how thin the atmosphere is. This is something that I wasn't really prepared for. I was expecting to see some beautiful continents and land masses, and I did. But when I looked out at the horizon, it was startling how thin the atmosphere was. It's just the smallest wisp of a layer on top of the Earth. I used to think of the sky and the oceans like we have for centuries as a vast, limitless expanse that we couldn't possibly affect with our activities. I no longer believe that in the least. Of course, I knew the numbers before I flew up here. I knew how thick the atmosphere was and the diameter of the Earth. But seeing it with your own eyes is that it was somewhat of a transcendental moment for me, and I will no longer think of our planet as something that is enormous, because the part of it that we occupy, you realize that the oceans are even less deep than the atmosphere is thick. So when you look down and you think about that, you realize that the Earth is just a giant rock, and we only have the smallest little bit of